Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our FA Cup tie with Manchester United, and we'll start off with dinner at Sky.
Frank, the last away game was obviously a positive point at the Etihad, so how do you compare the challenge of going to Old Trafford in the Cup?
Similar in terms of stadium. We're going to a team that are in very good form, good team, good individuals, good squad. So there's comparables in a sense of we'll have to be as diligent, as organised, and have the same work ethic and stick to that through the game as we had at City to give ourselves the best chance.
Obviously the mood after the City game has been hit by that defeat to Brighton, so what conversations have you had with the owner, the chairman, the chief exec, director of football since then, and what they said to you, given obviously results have meant that you've slipped into the bottom three?
Yeah, private conversations, simple as that.
Did you have to seek reassurances, or have you been given reassurance that over the time that you will get to turn the run of results around?
No, I've never and would never seek reassurances. There's a part of my job is absolutely to focus on the job in hand, day to day, game to game. That's an absolute reality of it. I don't need reassurances. Come to work to try and improve a little bit every day. You know, myself, the team, the squad, and everything. So I'm not hunting around for any reassurances.
You spoke about having the belief in yourself to turn things around as well. Do you also sense from the fans that the goodwill remains, because the fans desperately want you to be successful here?
Well, I think I came here in nearly a year ago now, and my feeling when I walked in the building, a lot of Evertonians have got such passion for this club, felt that we were going in the direction of relegation. That's my honest feeling. So we managed to have an incredible time together. It sounds a little bit, soppy, whatever you want to say, but to stay up, everyone saw the images at Palace, and I lived that moment with the fans, and so did everybody here at this club. In my mind, as I went home that night and had a glass of wine, I was like, this is where the work begins, and it's going to be a tough journey, because the elation of surviving the relegation battle is all well and good, but the reality means that there's a lot of work to do from there, because while we're in that battle. So I feel like we're in that process. Now, I'm not silly. We need to get results. We want to stay in this league. That's the first thing this year. We've just slipped into the bottom three. That's not my major concern, and I'm not talking away from that. I'm just saying when we win and around this area, it's a reality. If we win our next league game, we'll be out of the bottom three, probably. So those are just part of the process for me, and I can't affect anything other than that. My point being that I think I was very aware of what I came to in this job. I want to be a success at this club, and whatever challenges that come, I'll take them head on and actually enjoy them. I enjoy working for this club. It's a real honour for me. So I've got no. That's why my previous answer was I don't need reassurances. I don't need these things. I'm a big man who's working for a great club, and I'll keep doing it.
The fans, though, were obviously worried about the situation the club finds itself in, and how do you stop that impacting or continuing to impact the players that go out to perform for you on the pitch?
Well, we can only control what we can control, so we want to perform well and show performances with a real work ethic and passion. I've always said that always ignites the fans in the right way. That's our responsibility. So, and also to play for Everton, you can really enjoy 5,000 people coming before games that helped us get a victory last year, and maybe sometimes you just have to show big balls as well to play in difficult moments, because there's a passionate fan base, and I've got no problem with that, and we just have to focus on what we do. And at certain times of the season, I think we have done it. And sometimes do you need the fans when you're a bit below par? Yeah, for sure you do. And, that's something that we really want. But at this moment, it's on us to try and bring them with us. And as I say, stand up and play for Everton.
A different reassurance that you might look for is what tools you're going to be given to further enhance the squad during this transfer window, and where you at as regards that, because obviously you're looking to bring in a forward option. We hear the link with Danny Ings and a potential loan deal. Is it only loans that you're looking at? Is it the chance to bring in longer term solutions, and what is the situation as regards Danny?
Well, both, I'm not talking about Danny Ings, but both options that you mentioned there, loan or obligations or buying players, all things are on the table. I'm never going to stand here and sit here and talk about finances, because it's not my point or my strength to give you the detail enough on that. We want to improve the squad in January. We want to help the squad in January. But my job has to be first and foremost to work with the players we've got here now, and how we get a result against Manchester United and Southampton if we can improve and help the squad, then great. It's not an easy window, everybody knows that, but we'll certainly try to improve it because it feels like we need that for sure.
Just finally for me, Frank, can you give some context as to how difficult it is for the club to move in this transfer window? I'm not necessarily talking about finances, but obviously the difficulty in attracting players at the moment, because fans will look at it and say, we know we needed a forward option and we could, in theory, have put a deal in place ready to go for the 1st of January, and obviously that hasn't happened.
On who?
On any potential target is what I'm thinking. The club's been able to put deals in place. It's just
I mean, I don't know any other club situation. The context of it is probably a post World Cup transfer window where maybe some players, some agents. There's a lot of different things that come into play in this window. And all the things you just mentioned, Derek, is a good point, because people from the outside might go, "Why are you not doing this?" We have to look at the best solution, was viable solutions. And of course, from my point of view, I want those solutions because it will help me become a better manager, and they will help us maybe have more competition or get some results that we maybe haven't quite been able to get. Those are the rules of football sometimes, just the importance of recruitment. So there's no coming away from the fact that it's a huge deal for us, but also we've seen maybe in previous times that we've made decisions like that haven't gone right, and they can also have a negative effect. So we have to be balanced about it.
Thanks, Frank. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll go to James at Radio Merseyside.
Frank, what's the response been like from the players in the dressing room, particularly after Tuesday night?
It's been good. It's been good considering it's a tough night, because 3 goals in 6 minutes, completely affected the stadium, and understandably, and the players, because they're humans, and it's a tough night. I've been in them as a player in relative ways myself, and there's no beating around the bush after that. So yesterday it wasn't a nice feeling for anybody, just on a purely football sense. You don't want to lose games, but I also have to give some to reality to the situation, and I look around and I watch a similar type game unfold last night. I watched from my sofa watching Crystal Palace against Tottenham. I watch a lot of teams around us that go away and have some of these results this season. We've seen, and Brighton, for instance, have beaten Chelsea well this year, went to Manchester United, and all these things. We can't disrespect them, and we should never get ahead of ourselves, or we think that we're not beatable if we don't get it right. So I think the reality is we have to compare why Man City looked like it did in terms of the diligence of the performance on pitch, and then find the reasons why Brighton looked different, and just deal with that. And I think the players, to be fair, have had a good reaction on that point.
And going into the Manchester United FA Cup tie, we saw you make changes for the Bournemouth game in the League Cup, so will it be a similar sort of approach when it comes to team selection this weekend?
Yeah, that was a different situation, because we had a lot of players that were pushing to play, and they had to come in and try and show that they deserved to play more regularly, and we had 3 games in a week, and we came off the back of 4 injuries against Leicester. So I had to make changes in that game for different reasons. This game is different. We don't play afterwards until Southampton 9 days later, so that would affect my selection.
Without saying it's a free hit this weekend, is it a good thing in the sense you don't have a Premier League game and it's a chance to concentrate on another competition?
I don't see it that way. The FA Cup is a competition of pride for Everton in its history, and for me in my history. So I give it the same importance. It's a different competition, but off the back of the feeling after Brighton, whether it was 3 points or an FA Cup next round on the cards, we have to approach it in exactly the same way.
And lastly from me, what have you made of Ellis Sims' condition since he's been back, and just into your thinking of recalling him from Sunderland?
Yeah, it's another attacking option for us, who's a player that is ours, so it was relatively easy in that sense. He's ours to have and be competitive in the squad. He now needs to show in training and at this level, it's the Premier League, and he's had a good loan and now show that he's worthy of coming in and affecting games for us. So he's just back recently, so we hope to see that. Thank you.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Alistair at the BBC.
Hi Frank, can I just check on team news, particularly with Nathan Patterson and his injury the other night?
He's out for 6 weeks, unfortunately. It's a medial ligament injury.
Okay. Did he have a scan this week, is that right?
Yeah.
Is there any other issues that you need to be aware of this week?
No, we've had illness with Anthony Gould and Yerry Mina. Yerry's over it, Anthony's off the back end of it, so we'll have to consider that. Dominic was pretty fatigued after the Brighton game, so we have to consider that as well going into the game. So we'll see exactly whether he's fit to start or not. So other than that, I believe we're where we were.
Bit of a blow from Nathan. Obviously, he's had injuries already this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a blow, and kind of freak one, in terms of how he did the injury, and big blow for us. He's a young fullback who's come in and broke through and done really well for us. We know that, but it's time for others to take that mantle, and he'll be back 6 weeks. Sounds a long time right now, but he'll be back.
I just wondered, sort of more widely, how much responsibility do you take for Everton's position at the minute, or do you think it's also down to long-term issues at the club?
I take my responsibility absolutely as a manager, as a coach of the club, because I have to affect everything I can and prioritise what the most important things are. And like I said there, it's coaching the team, trying to improve, trying to get the result which we got last year, trying to understand what our result, where we want to get to this year, and trying to attain it. And there are a lot of things at play there. And it's true that when I came in here, I think it was very well known that we want to improve a big part of the club. We had a strategic review for a reason, to look at how can we be better in every department. Now, I'd be Superman if I could be in charge of every department, so they're not all my roles. So I know what my responsibility is. I can't give you a number, I can't gauge it against everything else. We know there's a lot of work to do, I think, on and off the pitch, to try and be better in every way. I think that's what great clubs and great companies do. And we have to keep working on that, and that will be a process, and I feel strongly about that. I don't know where we should finish in the league this year, what exactly it should look like, but what we know is that to get back to where we really want to be, that will be a process, and my responsibility for that I'll take head on, no problem.
In terms of January as well, do you have money to spend? Is there, I know there's a willingness to bring people in, but given the financial situation at the club in recent times, do you have money to spend in order to improve the squad? Yeah,
we have a budget to spend. But as I mentioned, we may look at loans as well, and we have to look at, can we bring in a player to impact us now, because that's what we want and we need, but also not to bring in players that become our players that are not the right move for Everton or for our squad to help us and improve us. So that's a process we have to go through to make sure we don't make those mistakes. And that doesn't make it easy. It's not a big market at the minute, particularly at the top end of the pitch. It's always the hardest market to find people that will come and deliver for you. But we have to work our best way to try and do that.
And you mentioned earlier, obviously, Everton in the bottom three now. They were there at times during the course of last season as well. There's obviously, an ongoing issue in terms of the club's form and the results. What more do you need in order to get better results?
What do you mean? It feels like a broad question.
What changes the situation for Everton?
Well, firstly to keep working and to build a confidence and a momentum, and we had snippets of it this year, and unfortunately we never capitalised on that. So we need to find that in the short term ourselves. And secondly, can we help the squad in January, like we've just been saying? And yeah, because that will help. We want to be as competitive, and we have to understand that our competitors around us either did that last summer to a big degree, or we're going to go and do it again in January, is the sense. So we have to do our own version of what makes us better, and then compete, and then be up for the fight. Because I think that's where we are. We're in and that's not a problem for a club like Everton. Maybe being up for a fight can bring out the best in a club and bring it together. It certainly did last year. And I think just an understanding of what we're doing in being up for a fight will be the first steps. So if that's the main answer, then that's it.
And just last of all, do the players also accept the responsibility for where they are now? Because obviously a lot of them will have been here longer than you. Are they taking it on board as well? Are they taking it on their shoulders too?
Well, I haven't had that actual question to each player. You have to sense things, don't you? And I think I know as a manager and as a player, I always took personal responsibilities here, and I'm not acting like a saint there, but I know I made a career out of taking personal responsibility and looking at myself first and foremost, and that's what the players have to do, and they have to do that individually to get the best out of themselves, get themselves at 100%, and then you can have all the other conversations. So are we playing at 100% now in terms of our all-round game? No. Is anybody at any one time? Possibly not. Can we get more of ourselves looking at our recent performances? Yeah, for sure. So that's a responsibility that I certainly hope the players are taking on, and it would always be my message, is that you take your personal responsibility, then the collective thing will come alongside that.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Alistair. Any further questions in the open section? We'll go to Ian at the back.
Just one, if I can. You talk about that process, just following on from Alistair's questions. You've been here 11 months. Have you seen an improvement in that time?
Yes, I have. What I perceive as improvement in the way we try to take the squad forward. Some of the things that happened last summer in terms of some players that have gone off in their own direction, maybe good for the club, maybe good for them, and what we're trying to do in terms of bringing in players that are going to help us going forward. And people can easily cast short-term judgments on certain players. Some players need to settle and improve. We hope they do that, and we'll try and be there to help them do that as quick as possible. And then in terms of league position, you probably say not really, but the reality is that takes time and work. And there's not a story out there. If you look at the most high-performing team in the Premier League this year, in Arsenal, for being top of the league, if you look at their journey over the last 3 years, you see typically how a journey can look, and it's not an easy road. And that one comes with huge investment, which obviously is part of their story. So I wasn't expecting huge. Every improvement has to be step by step, and then maybe one day you go, oh, here it is. Here's what it looks like. At the moment, you can't see it from the outside, but in my opinion, yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions in the open section? No? Okay, thank you.